All right, last time we had powers that were huge. Now we're having powers that are rational, and so they're, exponents, rational. So again, what I suggest is take your middle term, let that equal u. Guess what? If you take that u and you square it, that's what we get here. Because if we take x to the 1/3, square it, then we get 2/3. And so really what we're going to get is u squared minus 8u plus 12 equals 0. So here we're going to say let u equal x to the 1/3. Okay, so that's going to make it easier. So when we get down to the bottom, we remember to do that. All right, so that's what we do here. And when we do that, guess what? We get this, kind of like I said earlier. Now we factor this. Well, the factorization is pretty easy. It's two negatives, and two negatives that add to -8 are 6 and 2. So we have that. But now, then we have to set this u as x to the 1/3. So we do that. And what happens is they kind of leave out that step. We have x to the 1/3 equals 6 and x to the 1/3 equals 2. So now to make this x, we have to cube that. And so we have to cube that. And same thing here, cube that and cube that. So 6 cubed then is 216 and 2 cubed is 8. Okay, so sometimes in the book, I've noticed they sometimes leave out steps, assuming that you know what's going on. And what we've done is we've back substituted, this 1/3 for u here and here to make it look something like that. And then we had to solve for x, so we had to cube it to get rid of that 1/3 power. All right, so then your solutions are 8 and 216. All right, what about this one? Find all complex solutions to x to the fourth minus 81. All right, so what do we have here? Well, we can say, well, let u equal x squared. And so when we do that, then we have u squared minus 81. Well, we can factor that. That's just u plus 9, u minus 9. And so we set both of those equal to 0. And so u equals 9 or -9. But we said u is x squared, so we're going to set x squared equal to 9, x squared equal to -9. And so when we do that, square root of that, because now what we have to do is we have to solve for this x. So we're going to take the square root of that plus or minus the square root of that. Well, plus or minus square root of that is going to be plus or minus 3. Now, this one is going to be a key. When we take the square root of this one, plus or minus that, now we're going to have an I in here. We pull out, or -1, so we pull out the I, so we're going to have going plus or minus 3i is going to be our answer here. So we have four solutions, plus or minus 3 and plus or minus 3i. So there's four different solutions for this problem. All right, what about this one? What would we do? This one's again one I would probably say let's do method 2, multiply everything by x squared. That way it makes it simpler. And so that's exactly what they do. Now, at this point, you have to remember, okay, now I reduce this, that becomes 1. I take that off there, and that just becomes x. And so I have 3x squared, and if I take that over there, I have minus x. Take that over there, I have plus 1. And so we have that 3x squared minus x plus 1. Because if I took it over here or I took it over here, it doesn't matter because I always can multiply the whole thing by a negative and do that. So if I take it over here, then it has a positive here, which makes factoring a lot easier. And so then I could factor that, or I could just use the quadratic formula. Okay. So if I had decided to take this over here instead, I would get the same answer, but I would have a -3 where there's a +3 and things like that. So it's not going to change too much, but it's going to make it look a little bit different. And so what we have then is we have this. Oh, and that's -3. What will happen is that it's going to be a -3 for the here, but then that's also going to be a -1 for here. So it still stays the same answer. It won't change that underneath. It's still going to be a -11. So we still have to pull out the I. And so we have this is going to be our solution. And if we want it in the form like they ask us to do sometimes, a plus bi, then we have the 1/6 plus or minus I squared of 11 over 6. So that's usually how they want it into two different fractions, basically, because usually it has a fraction in both of them. All right, so hopefully that will help you get started here, and we'll again come back with more exercises worked.